Buzzfeed is being sued by a man who is called one of the most efficient persuaders in the world, Tony Robbins. He says, who is watching the watchdogs? That is a great question, Tony. And I ask the same thing. The story Buzzfeed doesn't want you to read. You see, what I started on, this article here, BuzzFeed News. Tony Robbins arrived at the summer camp as a star guest. He left with one accuser, 2 eyewitnesses, and dozens of others who remember the day's dark turn for decades. So BuzzFeed has repeatedly written these smears against Tony Robbins, and I can't tell you why, because who cares? Like, it's Tony Robbins, dude. He's like a motivational speaker. Of all the people to do a takedown on, why would you take down this guy who's trying to get people to like jump up and down and be motivated? It's the weirdest thing. But Tony Robbins essentially says that there is a concerted smear campaign, dare I say it, a conspiracy to drag his good name through the mud. BuzzFeed is trash. I've defended them in the past. They're not the worst, but I'm just fed up with them. And I'll tell you what, it's because they ran an article recently where they claimed that 2 black men fought to the death over fried chicken. And I swear, I'm not kidding, they wrote that. And it's not true, it was fake. I know other outlets wrote about it, but man, when you know what? There's some private information in there, but I'll just let you know. I know some of the people at BuzzFeed. I was furious they wrote that article. It's not true. Because I grew up in these impoverished communities, and I know the media never cared for us. But now that BuzzFeed gets their hilarious racist story about 2 black men fighting for chicken, and then one of them dies over chicken, that's what they're going to roll with. BuzzFeed is trash. So let's read what Tony Robbins has to say. Maybe not all of it, but we'll see what the gist of it is. He says, freedom of the press is central to the democratic experiment and our last best line of defense against those in power who threaten the rule of law. But in recent years, we have drifted a long way from those days. And when that press played an integral role in the battle, we drifted a long way from the days when the press played an integral role in the battle for freedom. Today, when anyone can spread gossip and false information without consequence, and online and entertainment media companies disguise themselves as news organizations, we must ask a fundamental question. Who is watching the watchdogs? Who watches the watchmen? Far from the watchdogs they once were, too many members of today's tabloid and entertainment media ignore traditional journalistic ethics, values, and standards. Too often in the hyper-competitive, celebrity-driven, and political-charged environment that currently exists, they fail to verify facts and vet sources, and are permitted to present predetermined stories supporting an agenda or outcome they believe will sow the most outrage and engagement with their target audiences, whether true or not. And what's the audience they're aiming at? The Me Too audience. Why, Tony Robbins is a famous celebrity. What if BuzzFeed had the exclusive on a Me Too accusation, and they got it by any means necessary, even lying? Well, that's what's apparently happening, according to Tony. For this reason, I am now suing BuzzFeed, following a premeditated and malicious campaign against me and my life's work. In a series of articles this year, BuzzFeed falsely accused me of abusing my position and making inappropriate advances towards employees and event attendees, as well as berating abuse victims at my seminars. Those stories were filled with falsehoods, and many people actively spoke out against BuzzFeed in the immediate aftermath. For example, BuzzFeed inaccurately labeled 2 of their sources as victims, when the truth is both came forward publicly to say they were not victims and refuted BuzzFeed's false reporting. Further, more than 24 witnesses issued sworn statements disputing the accuracy of BuzzFeed's reporting, and others have expressed serious concerns about the BuzzFeed reporters' conduct during interviews. Yeah, there's some people from BuzzFeed who I talked to once, who I'll just put it this way. I was essentially threatened with illegal activity by somebody. I don't want to get too much into it because I don't want to be sued either. But I was basically told that some really bad things could happen to me unless I handed over private information, basically. I'll leave it at that. So I've defended them in the past because these people who were there are no longer there. But BuzzFeed, they've crossed the line way too many times. And I'm not talking about straight BuzzFeed. I'm talking about BuzzFeed News, okay? Because he says BuzzFeed. This is BuzzFeed News. For shame. He says in the first article, BuzzFeed cited an account of a former personal assistant, Miss Rattase. Shortly thereafter, Miss Rattase, how you pronounce it, Miss Rattase, publicly repudiated the story. The only part of what BuzzFeed said about me in the article about Tony Robbins is that Tony's work truly impacted me and my family for the better. His work was transformational for our relationship and our life. BuzzFeed told me they wanted to talk to me so I could provide balance to their story as a positive perspective, and then they twisted my words in a negative way. My interactions with Tony were always respectful, professional, and appropriate. The same BuzzFeed article stated that Robbins had unleashed expletive-laden tirades on survivors of abuse and domestic violence, and then proceeded to selectively string together pieces of an intervention between myself and an event attendee to create a narrative untethered to facts and reality. I've been there, man. I had one guy recently take two different quotes from me from two different stories, mash them together to completely make up a face narrative, and then claim but they were real quotes, right? So what that he put them next to each other so it sounded like one story? Fake news. And then instead of admitting their fault, they said the quotes had errors and had been removed. Thus, people then accused me of lying. These people are snakes, man. He goes on to say, when the woman involved in this intervention read the article, she was stunned by the gross distortion between what she read and her real life experience. She set the record straight when she posted a video on her YouTube channel vehemently refuting BuzzFeed's reports as false and completely inaccurate. She courageously shared how the life-changing experience at the event positively impacted her life, stating, BuzzFeed just basically continues to try to use pieces of the intervention out of context to make their point. The point that they want to make regardless of my experience. So enraged by BuzzFeed's complete disregard for the truth, this woman filed a lawsuit implicating BuzzFeed and one of its sources for destructive conduct and a violation of her privacy rights. Check this out. I think I have it. Nope, that's a different story. I guess I don't. I'll open it right here. This woman in the Circuit Court of the 17th Judicial Circuit in and for Broward County, Florida, Annalee Campos suing Nicholas Fuser. So this is what he posted here. He says BuzzFeed doesn't just stop there. They reloaded their drivel gun and tried again. They published a subsequent article alleging that I punish followers by making them drink unidentified brown liquid. My team responded to this ridiculous claim and shared the recipe and a video of what actually occurs. Unsurprisingly, BuzzFeed did not acknowledge key facts we shared, since that would have ruined their narrative that I was somehow doing something injurious to my attendees. It is no wonder that the Pew Research Center cites BuzzFeed as the least trusted news source, dead last in a field of 36 media outlets. Well, I'm not going to read everything that Robbins says, but we have this story from BuzzFeed. He said, they said, a BuzzFeed News investigation. 5 parts. Look at this. Tony Robbins punishes followers by making them drink unidentified brown liquid designed to have a lasting effect. What? What is this? At high-pressure seminars, the self-help superstar punishes people who don't measure up to by feeding them a gross shot of unidentified brown liquid. His lawyers deny the mixture contains laxatives. Why did they include that? These people are out of their minds. I don't believe them for a second. They do not deserve any of my goodwill or the benefit of the doubt in this matter. Dude, if you're going to come out and make these claims and they're refuted, sorry. Now, it's possible Tony Robbins just wants to skirt, a smear campaign, but I'll tell you what, he's got a ton of stories in here. A ton of things, quotes from people saying it's not true. It's the lawsuit is happening. It's a fact. Maybe he's so powerful, he's paying all these people to turn on BuzzFeed. What? Why would someone give BuzzFeed negative information on Tony Robbins and then turn around right away and say it's not true? Why would they keep doing it? Why would everyone be doing it? And why would I trust BuzzFeed? Nah, I used to, not at this point. He says numerous people have called in reports of being harassed and pressured by BuzzFeed reporters. He says it's a tactic where they talk about making people open up. Let's get to the bottom of this. He says, more and more people are coming to see the media not as referees, but as active players in the larger game of agenda pushing. Credible media demand transparency, but online tabloid media disguising themselves as news organizations too often remain secretive about their sources, techniques, and their own agendas. The result? People are turning away from journalism and questioning its once important role as society's trusted watchdog. One day, the honorable craft of journalism will return to reporting fact-based news, not assassinating targets for entertainment purposes and clickable audience building to drive revenue. Until this happens, I simply ask, who watches the watchdogs? Yup. But we all know it. And that's why you're here watching this video, because we all know what the media has become. They are not the fourth estate. They are not watchdogs. They are rage bait smear machines who will lie, cheat, and steal to get what they want, to get those clicks, and they don't care. They employ activists who don't care about the truth, who just want a salacious story. And they will drag down everyone in their path to get it. It's sad. There are some great journalists that still exist, but I'll tell you what, I'm not sitting here on my hands. Okay, Subverse is doing really important work. It is editorially independent from me. We got some great journalists doing field reporting on the ground in Europe, in Hong Kong. We've got some big stories coming up. And guess what? You check out subverse.net. You know what you're not going to see? You're not going to see stupid orange man bad narratives. You're going to see real reporting from around the world. You're going to see real anchoring behind the desk talking about key issues without the opinion, without the nonsense. And I'll tell you what, man, there's a big risk in that because this is what clicks, this is what sells. So we're going to keep doing what we got to do. All right? I don't think that, when it comes to, I'm an opinion guy, right? I'm doing these opinion commentary channels. I do have a lot of journalism in this content as well, but it's a lot of my opinion. And I recognize that. And that's why I made sure Subverse is what it is. Because the real journalism must be funded, must survive, because we'll just keep seeing more stories like this. I'll leave it there. I'll see you all tomorrow at 10 a.m. Thanks for hanging out.